I never thought my 48 years of marriage would end in a hotel lobby, surrounded by strangers and security guards, with my husband screaming that I'd lost my mind. But that's exactly where I found myself on a humid Tuesday afternoon in Charleston, South Carolina, clutching my purse and wondering if maybe, just maybe, everyone was right about me. My name is Adele Richardson, and for the past 3 decades, I've been the kind of woman people describe as put together. I raised 2 beautiful children, managed a successful career as a dental hygienist, and stood beside my husband Marcus through every promotion, every setback, every milestone. At 56 years old, I thought I knew exactly who I was and what my life looked like. I was wrong about everything. It started 6 months ago when Marcus suggested we take a second honeymoon. Our youngest, David, had just moved out to start his job in Seattle, and our daughter Rachel was busy with her own family in Atlanta. The house felt too quiet, too empty, and Marcus said we needed to reconnect. I remember feeling grateful, thinking maybe this was the beginning of something beautiful after years of routine and comfortable distance. Charleston, he'd said over breakfast one Saturday morning. That hotel on King Street you always wanted to visit, the one with the rooftop garden. I'd nearly dropped my coffee cup. The Magnolia Grand Hotel had been on my bucket list since I'd read about it in a travel magazine 5 years earlier. I'd mentioned it exactly once in passing and assumed Marcus had forgotten, but here he was, pulling up the website on his tablet, already looking at availability. We booked a week-long stay for early September, when the summer crowds would thin out and the weather would be perfect. I spent weeks planning, buying new clothes, getting my hair done at a salon instead of my usual budget cuts. My best friend Patricia noticed the change immediately. "Girl, you're glowing," she said during our weekly coffee date. Marcus must be doing something right. I laughed, feeling almost guilty about how happy I was. He surprised me with this trip. After all these years, Pat, he remembered something I wanted. Patricia squeezed my hand across the table. She'd known me since college, through every up and down. "You deserve this, Adele. You've spent your whole life taking care of everyone else." The drive to Charleston took us 6 hours from our home in Richmond. Marcus was unusually quiet during the trip, but I attributed it to concentration on the road. He'd always been the strong, silent type, a man who expressed love through actions rather than words. I watched the landscape change outside my window, feeling something I hadn't felt in years: anticipation. The Magnolia Grand was everything I'd imagined. Historic brick exterior, modern interior with tasteful southern charm, and yes, that legendary rooftop garden overlooking the city. Our room was on the 4th floor, spacious and elegant, with a view of the church steeples that made Charleston famous. "It's perfect," I whispered, setting my suitcase down and walking to the window. Marcus came up behind me, and for a moment, I felt his hand on my shoulder. "Only the best for you," he said, but something in his voice felt off, mechanical, almost rehearsed. I shook off the feeling. I was being paranoid, reading problems into perfection. The first 3 days were wonderful. We explored the historic district, ate at restaurants where the she crab soup tasted like heaven, and walked hand in hand through the market. Marcus took photos of me in front of Rainbow Row, the famous stretch of colorful historic houses, and I felt beautiful despite the gray creeping into my auburn hair and the lines around my eyes. But on the 4th morning, everything changed. I woke up around 7, reaching across the bed for Marcus, but his side was cold, empty. The bathroom door was open, lights off. I sat up, confused, and that's when I noticed his suitcase was gone. Not just moved, but completely absent from the room. My heart started racing. I called his name, checking the closet, the bathroom again, even looking under the bed like he might be playing some bizarre joke. Nothing. His clothes, his toiletries, everything was gone. Except the things were gone in a strange way. My clothes were still there, but they'd been moved. Drawers I'd organized carefully were in disarray. I grabbed my phone from the nightstand. 3 missed calls from Rachel, 2 from David. My hands shook as I called Marcus's number. It rang once before going to voicemail. "Marcus, where are you? What's happening? Call me back, please." I tried again. Same result. Then I called Rachel. "Mom?" Her voice was tight with concern. "Are you okay? Dad called us last night. He said you'd been acting really strange, that he was worried about you." The room tilted slightly. "What? Rachel, I don't understand. What did he tell you?" "He said you'd been paranoid, accusing him of things, that you weren't making sense. He wanted to know if we'd noticed any changes in you lately." "Mom, Are you taking any new medications? Have you been feeling okay? I sat down hard on the edge of the bed. I'm fine, Rachel. I'm completely fine. Your father is the one who's gone. He left the hotel room. All his things are gone. There was a pause. Mom, Dad said you might say things like that. He's really worried. He thinks you might need to see a doctor. Rachel, listen to me. I forced my voice to stay calm even though panic was clawing at my chest. I am not confused. I am not imagining things. Your father brought me to Charleston for a trip, and now he's vanished from our hotel room. He didn't vanish, Mom. He's at home. He drove back last night because he was so worried about you. He said you refused to leave Charleston, that you were insisting you had to stay there for some reason you couldn't explain. The phone nearly slipped from my hand. That's not true. None of that is true. But Rachel's voice had taken on that careful, gentle tone people use with children, or the elderly, or the mentally unstable. Mom, maybe you should come home, or let me come get you. David and I are worried. After I hung up, I sat there for what might have been 5 minutes or 50, trying to make sense of the impossible. Marcus had called our children and told them I was having some kind of mental breakdown, but I wasn't. I was sitting in a hotel room in Charleston, exactly where we'd planned to be, and he was the one who disappeared. Unless I was crazy. Unless this was what crazy felt like, and you didn't even know it was happening. I forced myself to stand, to breathe, to think. No, I knew what was real. I looked at the hotel notepad on the desk where I'd written our dinner reservation for tonight. I checked my phone photos. There we were, just yesterday, smiling in front of the pineapple fountain. This was real. We were here, together. Something was very wrong, but it wasn't with me. I got dressed quickly and went downstairs to the front desk. The young man behind the counter looked up with a professional smile that faltered when he saw my face. Can I help you, ma'am? Yes, I'm Adele Richardson, room 412. My husband, Marcus Richardson. Can you tell me when he checked out? The clerk's expression shifted to something between confusion and discomfort. He typed on his computer, frowning. Ma'am, according to our records, you checked in alone 4 days ago. There's no Marcus Richardson registered to your room. The lobby seemed to spin. That's impossible. We checked in together. We've been here together. Ma'am, I was working the desk when you checked in. You arrived by yourself. You said your husband couldn't make the trip. No. My voice came out too loud. An elderly couple near the elevators turned to stare. No, that's not what happened. My husband was with me. We drove here together from Richmond. The clerk looked genuinely concerned now. Let me get my manager. Within minutes, I was sitting in an office with the hotel manager, a polished woman named Catherine, who spoke in soothing tones while showing me the check-in records, the credit card receipt with only my signature, the security notes that documented a single guest in room 412. Mrs. Richardson, is there someone we can call for you? A family member, perhaps? I thought about calling Rachel again, but I knew how that would sound. Instead, I heard myself say, I'd like to see the security footage from when I checked in. Catherine's expression shifted slightly. I'm not sure that's... Please, I need to understand what's happening. If I checked in alone, I need to see that. I need to know. She studied my face for a long moment, and I could see her making calculations, weighing risks. Finally, she nodded. Wait here. She returned with a security supervisor, a middle-aged man named Daniel, who set up a laptop and pulled up the footage. This is from 4 days ago, main entrance and front desk. We watched together, and there I was, walking through the entrance of the Magnolia Grand Hotel, alone, pulling a single suitcase, approaching the desk by myself, signing papers, taking a key card, walking to the elevator, alone. I watched myself, and I didn't recognize the woman on the screen, because I remembered it differently. I remembered Marcus beside me, his hand on the small of my back, his voice as he confirmed our reservation. Can you go back? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Before I come in? Can you show me the parking lot footage? Daniel navigated to a different camera view. I saw cars pulling up, people getting out, luggage being unloaded. And then I saw my silver Honda Accord pull into a space. I watched myself get out, alone, retrieve one suitcase from the trunk, lock the car, walk toward the entrance. No Marcus, no second person, just me. I don't understand, I said, and I was crying now, tears streaming down my face without permission. I don't understand what's happening. Catherine put a gentle hand on my shoulder. Mrs. Richardson, I really think you should call someone. Your children, perhaps? Or is there a doctor we can contact? I left the office in a daze, riding the elevator back to my room, each floor ding like a countdown to something terrible. When I opened the door, everything looked wrong. My clothes in the closet, just my clothes. My toiletries in the bathroom. The bed made on one side only, the way the housekeeping staff does when there's a single occupant. I sat on the floor between the bed and the window and let myself fall apart. Because maybe everyone was right. Maybe I was losing my mind. Maybe the woman I thought I was, the life I thought I'd lived, was nothing but elaborate delusion. But then my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Mrs. Richardson? This is Detective Sarah Martinez with the Charleston Police Department. I need to ask you some questions about your husband, Marcus Richardson. Everything went very still. What about him? Ma'am, when was the last time you actually saw your husband? The question was so specific, so pointed that something clicked in my brain. Why are you asking me that? We've received some information that concerns us. Can you come to the station? I stood up, my legs shaky, but my mind suddenly clear. I'll be right there. The police station was a 20-minute walk from the hotel. I could have called an Uber, but I needed the air, the movement, the feeling of my feet on solid ground, proving I was real and present and here. Detective Martinez met me in the lobby. She was younger than I expected, maybe 35, with kind eyes that had seen too much. She led me to a small interview room and offered me coffee, which I accepted just to have something to hold. Mrs. Richardson, we've been investigating your husband for several months now. I nearly dropped the coffee cup. Investigating him for what? Financial fraud. Marcus Richardson has been running an investment scheme out of Richmond. Multiple victims, mostly elderly clients from the financial planning firm where he works. Or worked, I should say. He was fired 3 weeks ago when the company discovered the discrepancies. The room was too small, too hot. That's impossible. Marcus would never. We believe he brought you to Charleston as part of an elaborate setup. The goal was to make you appear mentally unstable, to discredit you before you discovered the truth about his activities. He's been transferring assets out of your joint accounts, likely in preparation to disappear. I couldn't breathe. But the hotel footage, I arrived alone. Detective Martinez pulled out her own laptop, turned it toward me. This is footage from a traffic camera 2 blocks from the Magnolia Grand. This is the day you supposedly checked in. She pressed play. I watched my silver Honda pull up to a stoplight, and there, clear as day, were 2 people in the car. Me driving, Marcus in the passenger seat. He did drive down with you, but he got out before you reached the hotel. He checked into a different hotel across town under a false name. Then he's been orchestrating everything else remotely, including having the Magnolia Grand's registration system altered by a friend who works in their IT department. We arrested that individual this morning. My hands were shaking so badly I had to set down the coffee. He called our children. He told them I was crazy. Classic abuser tactic. Discredit the victim before they can expose the truth. If you'd discovered his fraud and tried to report it, who would believe you? The mentally unstable wife who had a breakdown in Charleston. But why? Why go through all this? You're listed on several of his accounts. You're a witness to his lifestyle, his spending habits, and you're legally entitled to half of everything in a divorce. By having you declared mentally incompetent, he could potentially control all the assets, maybe even have himself appointed as your guardian. The cruelty of it was breathtaking. 48 years of marriage, and he'd been willing to destroy my entire sense of reality to cover his crimes. The footage, I said suddenly. The hotel security footage that showed me alone. Edited. Not well enough to fool our forensic team, but enough to fool a hotel manager doing a quick review. Your husband's IT friend is facing serious charges for that as well. Detective Martinez leaned forward. Mrs. Richardson, we need your help. We need you to testify about your joint accounts, about expenses and purchases you can verify. With your testimony, we can build a much stronger case. I thought about Marcus's voice on the phone, calling our children, poisoning them against me. I thought about sitting in that hotel room, questioning my own sanity, wondering if I could trust my own memories. I thought about the woman in that edited security footage, walking alone into a hotel, and how close I'd come to believing I was her, broken and confused and lost. I'll do whatever you need, I said. Over the next 3 weeks, my life became an endless series of meetings with lawyers, accountants, forensic specialists, and victim advocates. Marcus had stolen over $2 million from his clients, many of them retirees who trusted him with their life savings. The assets he'd hidden included money from our own accounts, our children's college funds that I'd thought were secure, and even my retirement savings from 30 years of working. Rachel and David were devastated when they learned the truth. Rachel cried on the phone for an hour, apologizing over and over for doubting me. "Mom, I'm so sorry. When Dad called, he sounded so worried, so convincing. I should have trusted you. He's been lying for a long time, sweetheart," I told her. "He lied to all of us." The hardest part was rebuilding my sense of reality. Patricia came to stay with me for a week, and we spent hours just talking, walking through memories, confirming things I knew were true. She helped me understand that questioning yourself after that kind of manipulation wasn't weakness. It was a normal human response to an abnormal situation. "You're one of the strongest women I know," she said one evening as we sat on my back porch, watching the sun set over Richmond. "He tried to break you, and instead, you broke his whole scheme wide open." The trial was scheduled for January, 4 months after that terrible day in Charleston. I prepared to testify, working with the prosecution to document every suspicious transaction, every unexplained expense, every lie Marcus had told about business trips and client meetings. It turned out he'd been running his scheme for over 5 years, carefully and methodically, always just under the radar. They arrested him at his brother's house in Tennessee, where he'd been hiding since leaving Charleston. He looked smaller in the courtroom than I remembered, diminished somehow. When his lawyer tried to argue that I was an unreliable witness due to my mental health episode in Charleston, the prosecution presented the real security footage, the testimony from the IT worker who'd altered the hotel records, the documentation of Marcus's elaborate plan. The jury took less than a day to convict him on all counts. After the trial, I stood on the courthouse steps with Rachel and David on either side of me, facing news cameras and reporters who wanted my story. I thought about that woman on the edited hotel footage, walking alone, and how different she was from the woman I actually was, how different she was from the woman I'd become. "My husband tried to convince everyone I was crazy," I said to the cameras. "He tried to convince me I was crazy, but the truth has a way of surviving even the most elaborate lies. The hotel cameras eventually showed exactly what happened, and now so does everything else." I'm 67 years old now, and I run a support group for people who've been victims of financial fraud and gaslighting. Patricia co-leads it with me. We meet twice a month at a community center in Richmond, and we help people understand that questioning your reality after someone deliberately manipulates it doesn't mean you're weak or broken. It means you're human. I never went back to the Magnolia Grand Hotel in Charleston. But last spring, Patricia and I took a trip to Savannah instead, just the two of us. We stayed at a small bed and breakfast, walked through the historic squares, and ate pralines until we felt sick. I took 100 photos, and in every single one, I was smiling. Really smiling, for the first time in years. Rachel has her own private practice now as a therapist, specializing in helping people recover from emotional abuse. She says I inspired her career change. David works with elderly clients to help them protect themselves from financial scams. He says he does it for his mother, and for all the grandparents who lost everything to people like his father. I rebuilt my retirement savings, got a part-time job at a local dental clinic, and learned to trust myself again. The house feels different now, lighter somehow, even though it's the same building where Marcus and I raised our family. I've repainted the walls, rearranged the furniture, and claimed every room as my own space. Last week, I found an old photo album in the attic, full of pictures from our early years together. Marcus and me at our wedding, Marcus holding newborn Rachel, Marcus and David at a baseball game. I looked at those images of the man I thought I'd married, and I felt something unexpected. Not anger, not betrayal, but a quiet sadness for all the years spent with someone I never really knew. But I also felt something else, gratitude, for the truth that finally came out, for the children who learned to trust their mother again, for the women in my support group who walk in scared and confused and gradually find their strength, for Patricia, who's been beside me through everything, for second chances and new beginnings and the resilience that lives in all of us, waiting to be discovered. I'm Adele Richardson. I'm 56 years old, though I feel both younger and older than that now. I survived my husband's attempt to destroy my reality, and I came out stronger on the other side. The hotel cameras eventually told the truth, but more importantly, I learned to trust my own truth again. And that, I've discovered, is the most powerful thing of all.